Have you ever wondered what would happen if you spent just 5 seconds on Mars? It's a thought that has intrigued scientists, explorers, and dreamers alike. Mars, our next-door neighbor in the vast cosmos, is not just another celestial body. It's a world unto itself, complete with its unique environment, and challenges that are far removed from what we know on Earth. Imagine, if you will, a hypothetical scenario. You're standing on Mars, if only for 5 fleeting seconds. What would you experience? How would the Martian environment impact you? But before we delve into the specifics, let's set the stage. Mars is a cold desert world with an atmosphere much thinner than ours. It's a place of extremes with towering mountains, deep valleys, and ancient riverbeds etched into its surface. So let's dive into the science behind what would happen in those precious 5 seconds on Mars. First things first, you'll notice the atmosphere, or rather, the lack thereof. Mars's atmosphere is dramatically thinner than what we're accustomed to here on Earth. In fact, it's about 100 times less dense, which comes with some significant implications. Now let's break down what this Martian atmosphere is made of. The bulk of it, around 95%, is carbon dioxide. The remaining 5% consists of a mixture of nitrogen and argon, with trace amounts of oxygen and water. That's right, oxygen, an element vital to US humans, is a mere speck in the grand scheme of the Martian atmosphere. So, what would this mean for a hypothetical human visitor? Well, the lack of oxygen would lead to a rapid onset of hypoxia, a condition where your body doesn't receive enough oxygen to function properly. Symptoms would include shortness of breath, rapid heart rate, and eventually, loss of consciousness. But that's not all. The low atmospheric pressure on Mars is another hurdle. It's so low that the water in your body would start to boil at body temperature, a phenomenon known as the Armstrong limit. This would lead to a condition called ebulism, where the low pressure causes the fluids in your body to turn into gas, leading to severe swelling and possibly death. And let's not forget the Martian dust. This fine, iron-rich dust is everywhere, and it could easily get into your lungs, causing a whole host of respiratory problems. Plus, this dust could interfere with any equipment you might have, including your spacesuit and your life support systems. So, within the first second of your hypothetical 5-second visit, you'd be dealing with hypoxia, ebulism, and a potential dust storm in your lungs. Mars, it seems, is not a place for the faint of heart or the underprepared. And all this would happen in less than a second, but what about the remaining 4? In the next second, you'd experience the Martian weather, which is anything but Earth-like. Imagine stepping out into a world where temperatures can swing wildly from a balmy 20 degrees Celsius in the afternoon to a bone-chilling negative 80 degrees at night. That's the kind of extreme variation you'd experience on Mars in just 5 seconds. This vast fluctuation is primarily due to the thin Martian atmosphere, which isn't dense enough to retain the sun's heat. For a human, this drastic shift would be quite a shock to the system. Mars isn't just about extreme temperatures, it's also home to the most massive dust storms in our solar system. These storms can engulf the entire planet and last for months. If you found yourself in the midst of one, you'd be pelted by tiny particles of dust moving at up to 60 miles per hour. Imagine sandblasting your skin, and you'll get the picture. These dust storms also affect the temperature. They can heat the atmosphere by absorbing sunlight, causing further temperature swings. You'd feel as if you were in a desert one moment and a freezer the next. But it's not all inhospitable. Mars also has weather patterns similar to Earth's, with seasonal changes and even snowfall. But don't get too excited. This isn't the kind of snow you'd make a snowman with. It's composed of carbon dioxide, also known as dry ice. So, if you were hoping for a Martian snowball fight, you'd be sorely disappointed. And remember the thin atmosphere we mentioned earlier? It also means that the Martian sky would look quite different from our blue Earth sky. During the daytime, you'd see a pink or salmon-colored sky, and at sunset, the sky would turn blue. So, in just 2 seconds, Mars has shown itself to be quite inhospitable. But there's more. In the 3rd second, you'd start to feel a little lighter thanks to Mars's lower gravity. Yes, you heard it right. On Mars, you would weigh a lot less than you do here on Earth. Mars, being just a little over half the size of Earth, has a gravitational pull that's only about 38% of what we experience here on our home planet. That means if you weigh 100 pounds on Earth, you would weigh just 38 pounds on Mars. Imagine that, you'd be a featherweight in no time. Now these gravity changes would have some immediate noticeable effects. For instance, you'd be able to jump nearly 3 times higher on Mars than you could on Earth. Sounds fun, right? Well, while these changes might seem exciting at first, they could also cause some difficulties. Simple tasks like walking, running, or even standing up straight could prove to be quite challenging as you'd need to adjust to the new environment. But what about the long-term effects? If you were to stay on Mars for more than just 5 seconds, your body would start to undergo some serious changes. Over time, your muscles and bones would begin to weaken due to the decreased demand placed on them. This is similar to what astronauts experience when they spend long periods in the zero-gravity environment of space. Additionally, the heart, which is also a muscle, may change shape and function differently in the low-gravity environment. This could potentially lead to health complications. Scientists are still studying these effects, and while we don't have all the answers yet, it's clear that living in Mars's low gravity would require some major adaptations. So, while the idea of bounding about on Mars with the agility of an Olympic high jumper might seem appealing, the reality is that the low gravity could pose significant challenges to our bodies. So, Mars's gravity wouldn't kill you, but it would certainly feel strange. In the 4th second, you'd be getting a dose of radiation that you wouldn't get on Earth. Mars, the 4th planet from the Sun, has often been depicted as a potential new home for humanity. But there's a catch, a significant one, and that's radiation. Unlike our home planet, Mars doesn't have a thick atmosphere or a strong magnetic field to protect it from the onslaught of cosmic rays and solar radiation. It's like standing in the open, with only a thin umbrella for protection against a torrential downpour. Radiation on Mars comes from 2 main sources: the sun and cosmic rays from outside our solar system. Solar radiation, also known as solar energetic particles, are high-energy particles emitted by the sun, especially during solar flares. Cosmic rays, on the other hand, are even more energetic particles coming from distant galaxies. Now you might be wondering, what does this mean for humans? Well, it's not particularly good news. Radiation can damage DNA, increasing the risk of cancer and other diseases. Over time, it can also cause damage to the central nervous system, leading to cognitive impairment, reduced motor function, and behavioral changes. Unlike Earth, Mars doesn't have a protective magnetic field. Earth's magnetic field or magnetosphere acts as a shield, deflecting most of the harmful radiation from the sun and cosmic rays. It's like a cosmic umbrella, keeping us safe from the torrent of high-energy particles. Mars, however, lost its magnetic field billions of years ago, leaving it exposed to the harsh radiation from space. On Mars, the radiation levels are so high that a human would receive about 100 times the dose of radiation they would on Earth. In just 1 day on Mars, you'd be exposed to more radiation than an astronaut on the International Space Station gets in 6 months. So, in just 4 seconds, you've experienced more radiation than you'd want in a lifetime. And that's something we'll have to overcome if we ever want to call Mars our new home. So, after those 5 seconds, what's the verdict? Well, let's recap. The Martian atmosphere, thin and carbon dioxide rich, would leave you gasping for breath. Then there's the extreme weather, with temperatures that could plunge to a frigid -80 degrees Celsius at night. Even the warmest midday sun wouldn't offer much respite. And remember the Martian gravity? It's about 1/3 of Earth's gravity, which might sound fun, but in reality, it could cause significant health issues over time. Lastly, there's the high radiation levels. Without a thick atmosphere or magnetic field to shield you, cosmic rays would bombard your body, increasing your risk of developing serious health complications. So, while a 5-second trip to Mars would be a phenomenal experience, it's clear that we're not quite ready to become Martians just yet. The red planet, while fascinating, remains a tough nut to crack for human habitation. But who knows what scientific breakthroughs the future may bring.